Good morning. My name is Ms. Mooney. I am your high school, middle school English teacher here at Tri-Central. So our first couple lessons, we're going to be talking about annotation and what that will look like in my classroom and what's going to be required of you. You can see these videos anytime on YouTube, or of course you can see them right here in my classroom. First couple things we're going to be looking at for when we annotate. First, it's not just for books. We're going to be doing a couple writing projects where you are going to have to do research and you will be using annotation techniques there as well. You're going to be going through, taking notes and analyzing what's important versus what's not and whether the reader is biased or not, okay? So before we dive into our writing unit, this is something you have to know for when you do research. First couple things, when you are annotating, we have a couple do's and we have just a few don'ts. Our first one, notice literary devices, okay? Are they being ironic? Otherwise, are they being a little sassy? Is there a metaphor? Is there a simile? Are they comparing and contrasting? What are they doing? Because that's gonna give you insight into what's the purpose for why they're writing. Next, of course, discuss confusing parts. Write down what parts don't make sense to you, and that leads to our next point. Ask questions of your author. Why do they believe that? Why do they say that? Why do they feel that way about something? Write that down and be as detailed as possible on your questions, so that way when you go back later on, you can think to yourself, oh my gosh, I know exactly what I was thinking during that time. Next, any connections. So if you are doing a paper over the benefits of, I don't know, farming in our community and bring in for the economy, okay? You could probably make connections on that because we live in a farming community, all right? Those are connections, and maybe you even go further that you know something. Write those down. Write down the benefits of why farming is good for our community. Any connections, and that doesn't just have to go with reading or researching. It can go for reading a fictional text, okay? It doesn't have to just be real life. Next, emotional impact. If something irritated you, something made you laugh, something made you smile, something brought joy, or something made you sad, write that down. I like to put just little smiley faces or frowny faces or irritated faces next to there, because sometimes you're writing, it's harder to fill in. You've got just a little space on the side to write out an actual word. Just write little symbols that you're going to remember later on, because it's going to help you. Next, write down if you agree or don't. All right, if someone says, let's go back to the farming. If somebody says that farming takes up a lot of land and it doesn't bring around a lot of economic success, write down, no, I don't agree with that at all. I come from a community like that. It brings up about a lot of success. Or if you, let's say, live in New York, someone might absolutely agree and be like, yeah, like we could use that for more space for our city. Then write a little check mark, okay? You don't have to write the full word. Next, vocabulary. This is going to be a big one. For words that you do or don't know, okay? That's gonna be our biggest thing there. What I do, I don't write down next to it or anything like that. I usually will like underline it or put a question mark next to it, so that way I can go back and I can look, because if that unknown word is important to the story, or you're gonna see it repeatedly, you might need to know what it is and what it means. Next, change of heart or emotions, okay? If at the beginning of a book or a short story or an essay, you really like someone and you're like, yeah, like I totally agree with everything they're saying, they're so educated, and then let's say things start to change, where they say something that you're like, or they do something in the short story where you're just, that is not right, okay? Write down how you feel. And again, I don't write down full words, but I put little faces that I've drawn next to that. So that way I know right here on page 35 of this book is where I started to notice that person or that character or what that author said, I disagree or I don't like it anymore. You're going to need to know things like that, especially for when you go and do citations. You're going to be able to need to find that quickly. Next, what's missing? If you feel like the story was incomplete, or if you feel as if they left out an important detail in their essay, you need to make note of that, because then you're going to have to go back later on in an essay for your citations, for your research, and figure out what's missing and find that information elsewhere. Next, inference skills. We'll go in a little more inference, but basically what it is, it's a educated guess over something that's happening in the story. Doesn't have to be right, doesn't have to be wrong. You can prove it, you can disprove it. It's basically what do you already know and what did you just read and coming up with a conclusion. And next, and I cannot stress this enough, you've got to be specific. You need to be detailed, okay? The point of annotating is for when you go back through your research or a short story when you're studying for your test, actually writing your essay, these notes, these annotation notes are going to help you study. So that way you don't have to go back through the entire thing. This is a great test-taking skill. This is going to help you on iStep, iLearn, SAT, ACT, and well into college. And not even if you go to college. If you go to other options after high school, this is a great skill that you're going to need to learn, to make notes and to annotate in what you've read. And the biggest one is be as specific as possible, because you don't want to go back and read through the entire essay or story again. Now we're on to our don'ts, okay? There's not a lot, but they're pretty important. Don't be vague. Don't be wishy-washy on what you're writing. Again, be specific. Be as specific as possible without writing down an entire essay. Next, don't skim. You're going to miss important details, okay? It's almost as if someone just skipped the part of the Titanic where Jack dies. That's a pretty important part. And you might miss important details or important events in a story or an essay that you're going to need to know if you just skim. And the next one, be critical. Look through. Write down how you feel, all right? If it irritates you, be critical of the vocabulary, okay? Are they using the words that you think you might use? Are they using words that are appropriate for the age level that they're trying to reach? Are they confusing throughout their essay or throughout their story? Is it making no sense to you? So be critical of what they're saying, all right? These are the steps to annotating. And as we go about the year, we'll periodically go over annotating skills. You'll have checks, and I will make sure that we are annotating masters by the end of the school year. Thanks, guys.